I had a feeling it might be a bad idea to try to hike to this waterfall. Yeah, well, I did it anyway. I take it as a little ambiguous whether or not one can hike down into Waipi'o Valley. Certainly, the no pedestrian sign is straightforward enough. But after I go to the Valley Lookout, there is this sign that partially reads, "If you must descend, do not trespass. Public access to beach and end of county road only." And pedestrians must yield to vehicular traffic at all times and exercise extreme caution. And then there is this sign allowing 24-hour parking in designated spots. Hardly necessary if you're only allowed to visit the lookout. So, with the intent of being respectful of private property, we head down the road. Am I saying anyone else should follow the same logic? Not really. I have since learned that the reason for restricting foot traffic from the road is unstable geologic conditions. The prohibition does not apply to covered cars that steadily go up and down the road, nor to Big Island residents. Having said that, a 2022 Geologic report that started all this said, with a bit of scientific jargon, our field observations indicate that the discontinuous and random jointing patterns in the basalt, with significant infilling and weathering, are relatively unstable and likely would generate localized slope failures immediately above Waipi'o Valley Road. These upslope failures are more likely to occur with significant rain events and seismic activity. In other words, falling rocks are possible. And certainly walking the road in bad weather is indeed foolish. Although that doesn't explain the equivocation of the sign at the top. Bottom line, we're all responsible for the choices we make, including getting clobbered by a wayward boulder. So trust me when I say it's a steep walk. And you would not want to do this in a car. You'd be riding the brakes the whole way down, probably burn them up. And since we have a rental car, I don't know, I don't think Thrifty would appreciate that. Once at the bottom, a distance of about 1.4 miles and 800 feet of elevation loss, we turn right on the county road, past the Wailoa stream, into a lush tropical forest. This place is just absolutely stunning. Okay, not exactly the most poetic reaction. Suffice to say, many Hawaiians consider this place sacred for the kings buried here in sometimes secret locations. We walk as lightly and reverently as we can. Soon, we reach the ocean shore, which was named Waipi'o, or curved water, for the large bend in the beach. Now, people have been living in the Waipi'o Valley for 15 generations, 1,000 years. They primarily were farmers. In fact, they were known all over the islands for what they produced. That would be like taro, later rice, that sort of thing, fruit. And then in 1946, a tsunami just wiped it clean. So it took about 20, 30 years before people started filtering back in. They produce now taro and poi. And it's a quiet little place. It's really wonderful. So the Waipi'o Valley is also known for an interesting tale having to do with King Kamehameha. Turns out that when he was a little boy, it was prophesied to the current ruler at the time that the little boy would end up taking over the older man's rule. Well, the older man wasn't pleased with that, so he decided that he was going to come for the little boy. And the little boy was then hidden in this valley until he grew up and indeed became King Kamehameha. And his rule lasted until, I believe, 1815, when he died. And then I see in the distance Kaluahini Falls, which has the reputation for running dry between rainstorms. Good timing on my part. And it looks so close, less than a mile away. Time to wander off on an adventure. After a few minutes, it's clear this isn't going to be easy. Plus, it appears that the tide is coming in. I really should turn around before I get trapped on the rocks. But a waterfall that isn't always there is so enticing. I finally get within a short distance of it when I can see that if I try to round the last point, I might not be able to get back until the tide recedes a few hours from now. When I returned to the beach and my much wiser wife, who stayed put, were joined by the famous wild horses of Waipi'o. These may be descendants of the first horses brought to Hawaii, 4 of which were gifted to King Kamehameha in the early 1800s. Or not. The history is a little fuzzy on that point. After communing with the equine residents, the walk back is the glutes workout I expect it to be. A long trudge up the unrelentingly steep road. Man, that was tough.